Hey, welcome to the game.
Appalachia, Volume 1.
Bankruptcy Club all
Version.
weekend.
Yeah.
By Justin Anderson and Mark Boyer.
There you go.
Mark, how do you say your last name?
Boyer.
Boyer. Okay.
Boyer like Foyer.
Boyer, that's fine.
Okay.
Sounds like Boyer like Foyer.
Okay. All right.
Either way.
We can do
My
that.
dad's French, Quebec French.
Okay. How do you say it?
I say Boyer. but
Boyer?
In,
Okay.
in Quebec, you'd say Boyer.
Boyer, yeah.
Oh,
Whatever.
I like how you say your own name and you're like, I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know about the history. I forgot about it. Cool. Sorry about the glare. That's all right. It's the Great Plains.
Yeah.
The Sun Belt.
There's not a lot there.
We'll just call it Texas. All right. So should I just jump into teaching here, guys? Aim just where he needs it.
Are we live and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you be my backup.
If y'all want to like introduce this game.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll introduce. So the game is Train Tycoon. Mark and I have been working on this for a couple of years now, and so it's been around the block. It's actually been in development for more like 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But then Mark sort of joined the party a couple of years ago and has really helped take it, to completion. The inspiration behind the game was sort of to make a game that is 18xx inspired, but also to be much more realistic on how markets actually work.
Okay.
So the mechanism for trading and for IPOing and that sort of thing try to be a lot closer to real markets.
Okay.
My background is I'm in the markets. I buy and sell stocks and finance. And one thing that always irked me with 18xx, doesn't irk me, it's still, I love 18xx, but is sort of the idea that prices move because you pay dividends or something, and sort of not very realistic in that sense. Obviously it's a game, but anyway, so that was the intent of the game, is just to teach some of those principles and have fun while you're doing it. It was also, the idea was to make a lot of simultaneous actions. So that way the game is more, kind of moves a little faster, and you're not kind of waiting for other people to do their turn. Most of the time you're doing things all together.
Awesome.
So that's the other kind of aspect. Okay, so I'll just jump into the teaching. Like 18xx, the purpose is to be the one with the most net worth at the end of the game.
Okay.
Net worth is essentially just your cash at the end of the game. So cash minus your net debt. So do I get that calculation exactly right? But it's just your total cash minus your debt position. So you don't have to think about the value of your stock essentially at the end of the game.
Only cash counts.
Only net cash counts.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Mark, feel free to jump in if I'm messing up any of the rules. So how do you get there? So the game is played in 5 phases, and there's 4 turns. So 5 phases per turn. Sorry, is there 5 turns? Did I mess that up already? 5 turns. 5 turns, 5 phases per turn. Trading is the first thing you do. Trading is when we basically trade shares. That's done simultaneously. We'll get into that. Treasury is when you're raising money, basically issuing new shares to the market to raise money for the company. M&A is when you're doing M&A activity. IPO is launching a new company. And then operate, which is when you're operating the companies on the map. So I'll start by teaching operate and kind of go backwards. That way, when we're talking about the other phases, you sort of understand the operate, because it's the most kind of complex part. So how does operate work? Okay, so what you're trying to do is boost your income, which is that guy over there. And how do you boost your income? You do it by shipping things, as is the case. When you're building, it's very much kind of like Age of Steam, where you own the line that you're building.
Okay.
So when a company builds, it places its marker on the line, and that represents between 2 hubs, which are, this is a hub, this is a resource hub. In this case, it contains fish. This is a factory hub, which processes fish and turns it into a processed good. And then you send processed goods to cities of the matching color. So in this case, this produces a tan processed good, which is this guy, furniture, because it's the matching color of the factory. And then you send these to the matching color city, And when you do that, it produces passengers. Which ones are the passengers? Is that this guy? The red ones? This guy's, okay. So you produce these passengers, and then passengers want to go to other cities. Okay, so that's kind of the value chain. Resources to factories, factories send their products to cities, and then cities send their passengers to other cities. Okay, that's how you make money, is you help them get to where they want to go. On your turn, on your operate turn, what you tend to have, the first round, there's a kind of a pre-turn, but we'll get to that. Normally what you do is you have one line that you get to place. One line is basically connecting two hubs together. So I could be connecting a resource to a factory to a city. I can even theoretically build into the middle of nowhere and produce what's called a transfer hub, something like that. And then this just becomes like a hub for transfer, and other people can connect into that line. You can't connect a line like this sideways. That doesn't do anything unless there's another track, just like normal 18x, x, actually have to connect. So when you build on your turn, you try to build from one hub to another hub.
Okay.
And only one such line you can build for your operate phase. So you first build your line, try to connect, and then you send your goods. The constraints on building is you can always build a minimum of one track. So for example, if I wanted to connect, I saw these two are beside each other, so that would be a viable move, all 5 turns. However, if I want to make a longer line, like for example, 2 steps, like from there to there, that's a 2-step line, or 2-track line, then it depends on what turn I'm in. So generally, the longest you can build is equal to the turn number. So on turn 1, you can only build 1 line.
Okay.
Turn 2, you can only build 2 lines. However, for an additional cost of whatever this is on, so it starts off at 20, every turn it gets more expensive, you can push your engineers and go 1 step further. So theoretically on turn 1, I could actually build a 2-line, but I have to pay a bonus fee.
Got it.
For that. Okay, so that's opening a line. The other thing you have to do when you're opening a line is you have to secure the rights to the line, or to the hubs that you're connected to. Okay, the rights are, every single hub has rights that you have to buy as if there's any other company attached to that hub. If nobody's attached, you don't have to pay for any rights.
Okay.
First gets an advantage. The price you pay when you're connecting to somebody that else has already been connected is again equal to this price.
Okay.
Basically for each other company that is connected. However, you also get a discount if you own the shares in the company that's connecting into. Okay. So the discount is essentially the same kind of concept. So if you own a share in that company that you're attaching to, you fetch the discount. Any questions so far about that?
I don't think so.
It's $20 per tile.
Per tile,
Per
yes.
tile.
This would be in this phase, this would be $40. No, it would be 60, right? It would be 20 plus 20, and because we're in the first turn, that would cost an additional 20.
So
the advanced engineering stuff costs.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's this price here. So this is the additional connection fee for every other company that's connected to that. So it's not per tile. The only tile additional cost is if you push your engineers one more, like if you go one more build beyond the limit of the turn limit.
You still have to pay $20 per tile.
Oh, sorry, yeah, in addition to $20 per tile, yes.
This run would just cost $20.
No, that would cost 60.
So this would cost 60 because it would cost 20. So tiles always cost 20, regardless of what turn. Always cost 20 the whole game, and that's your base cost. And then on top of that cost, you pay an engineering fee if you're building one longer step than the current turn. So that's the engineering fee is equal to whatever the turn number is on. And then you also pay for rights, which is also equal to whatever the turn number is on.
So let's say we're in turn 5, and you built this. This
Yep.
would be 120 plus 100, so that would be 220 to build that.
Got it.
Yeah. So it gets kind of expensive to try to push it.
So can our factories work as hubs as well, and you can connect to other people's factories, or are factories exclusive?
No, you can always connect to any hubs. Everything's always open. But you do have to pay for rights fees. And the rights fees are, in this case, if somebody else wanted to come connect here, like this, like,
I think using your example of having that second one,
yeah,
where one plate gets this first one for 60,
Yeah.
Theoretically, player 2 came in for,
Yeah, and theoretically, player 2 couldn't come until a lot later, but if they were coming in round 5, the reason they couldn't come in until round 5 is because this is a 6-track heck, so you can only build that long on turn 5. And if you did do that, it would cost, like he said, it would cost 120 for the track, 20 per track, plus 100 because we're on turn 5 for that extra last track, pushing your engineers to the limit.
Another 100.
And then another 100 for because this guy already has rights.
yes, okay,
Correct.
got it.
But just the
The potential discount is if you have shares
yes,
in that
And what's
company
the
that has
discount?
rights.
the discount is for every share you have, less $20 less for the rights
Got it.
for in that company, that the triggering company. Now multiple companies might be there, so if there's 2 companies, you have to pay rights for both of them. The money goes to the bank; it doesn't go to the company that you're paying to rights. Okay, so that's kind of the complicated part, is just understanding the cost structure of connecting. But the main incentive is to be first. You're a lot more cheap if you're first, and try not to push your engineers too hard. Okay, so that's building track. Now, once you've built your track, you now deliver your goods. Goods are delivered automatically. There's no choices. Okay, it just happens. It happens at the end of your turn. So if I was blue and I ended my turn like this, it would trigger the automatic delivery phase. Delivery phase starts with passengers go first, then finished goods, and then resources, in that order. Okay? You always deliver one item from one source hub to one destination hub and no more between those 2. A source can send to multiple different destinations as long as each one item is between 2 different connecting things. Okay? So for example, if I was connected to another green factory over here, I could send one fish there and then one fish to the other green factory. Okay? In this case, because I've only got this one connection, let's say I don't own this is green. Actually, no, we'll make it blue to make it more interesting. Then what would happen is we first try to send passengers, but there are no connected passengers, so they don't send. Then we try to send finished goods, there are none. Then we try to send resources. Resources, in this case, are quite simple. We send one fish from here to here, and one oil from here to here. That's it.
And they come here because the tile is black.
They come here because they demand. You can only send to the factory that demands the good, and the colors tell you if it demands it. They
You require both to produce the next
No.
one.
no,
Get a bonus.
you'll get extra production if you have both. So first of all, let's talk about the income. So by doing that, as the crow flies, including both the source and the destination hubs, so in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's how much income that company gets per good that it delivered. So in this case, it would boost its income by 8 for that, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for this. So sending stuff farther gets you more money. Okay, after you send the goods, then if the factory has both types of goods, then it produces 2 of its type per good delivered. So in this case, it would produce 4. The reason it would produce 4 is it's got a bonus because it's got both types demanded. If this wasn't connected, if it was opponent, and it was something like this, so I can't use his track, then it would be just sitting here with 1, because it would have shipped 1 and it only would have produced 1 in response to that shipment. So they produce a lot more if they have both types of goods there.
So what if an opponent owns the other side?
So the only
Doing deliveries, you're just doing your own.
when you're
That's not a shared turn thing, that's an individual
no,
turn?
so if opponent, like let's say he had delivered on his turn that oil there, and then somebody else had shipped to the factory the furniture that had gotten away, then it's your turn with blue, and you ship to here, then it would produce 2. So meaning that it only produces whatever you shipped there, but the multiplier is either times 1 or times 2, depending on if both types of goods are sitting there. Okay? So if you see both types of goods in the factory, whatever you ship there times 2 is how much it produces. If you don't see both types of goods, if it only has one type of good, whatever you ship there does times 1 production.
That oil would have never been there, though. Would have got produced, wouldn't it?
No, it could be. On their turn, they shipped it. They only can't get removed at the end of the turn. So it could get shipped by a different company, and then somebody else ships there. So in this scenario, for example, if this guy produced, it would have gone here, produced 1 furniture, and then when this guy produced the fish, it would have gone here and would have produced 2. So it would be sitting here with 3. Because on his good, it only produced 1. On his, it produced 2 because there was already the black one there. Okay? So it only affects the productivity of the factory if it has both types of goods in it. It doesn't affect your money in the sense that they both got the same amount of money regardless of how much was produced, but now there's more stuff to ship for whoever has the connection to the city. Okay?
Which will you ship? Which will be the next turn because they shipped previously?
Normally,
Highest quality to lowest quality.
that's right. Normally it goes passengers, finished goods, and then resources. So yeah, you're trying to think ahead of where the goods are going to pile up and try to lock those supplies down. So it's very kind of interesting. Yeah.
Then, okay. And then, so technically, if there was whoever's next had a
That's right. So
connected out, it would have shipped off that way, and they would be getting the extra points for actually shipping off to create passengers.
that's right. Somebody else could take advantage of somebody else having an efficient supply setup, right? So you want to try to identify when a company is a factory is going to produce a lot. That becomes a very valuable line to take that to the relevant city. In this case, the TAN city. But remember, you can at an only given turn, you can only ship one item between two locations. So in this case, only one TAN on my turn could go there. I couldn't ship all of them. So you're always limited by one item between two nodes. Okay, and then the last thing that happens to your income, I mentioned the income is equal to as the crow flies. The other thing that affects income is whatever the difference is after you ship the good between the matching colors of the source and the destination. So in this case, the difference is 2, right? There's 3 there, there's 1 here. So I would get a bonus of 2. If it was the other way around, if this was kind of depleted and I shipped like this, it would be a bonus of -2, right? Because it's already satiated the demand. It doesn't want any more oil, so you're not going to get as much money for that income.
In some cases, you could actually have negative income.
Theoretically, you could ship with negative income. Yes. Pretty unlikely, but possible.
Your lines are too short.
Yeah, I guess if your lines are really short and there's still some, I've never seen that, but it definitely would be bad because then you would still have pay for your trains. Okay, and then, so that's sort of shipping goods, that's how you boost your income. Okay, so after you've built, the other thing that you get to do is you manage your trains. So that actually happens before the delivery, but I just wanted to show the delivery so they kind of understand it. So when you're connecting to a new city, let's say I go like this. It's my turn. I'm blue. I've already connected here, and I decided I want to connect to this place, which isn't a terrible idea because remember I'm producing these things over here, and now I can actually ship that to that city via this resource. So it's no problem to go as long as I own all the track. I can't ever go on opponent track, and that's a big reason why you want to do M&A. Is you want to connect and make really nice long routes that can generate a ton of money. So in this situation, I can ship, but remember, even though I go this long route, I only get money as the crow flies. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the shipment. Doesn't matter the path that it takes. And that's always the case for passengers, it's for resources, everything. Now, if it's ever, let's say I only had one item here, so it's not clear where and I was connected to 2 of those cities. I also had a line all the way over to there. The question is, which city does it go to? It always tries to go to, if you're out of supply, normally you could go to both. If you had 2, you'd send 1 and 1. But in the rare case that you only had 1, resources always want to go to the closest location. So it would go there. Passengers, however, always want to go to the farthest location. Sorry, resources and goods are kind of the same for that purpose. They always try to go to the closest if it's ambiguous. Usually you can go to both because there's more than one. But passengers, if there's only one, will want to go, and they have multiple choices, and it's much more common for passengers because unlike goods, like this resource can only go to these 2 cities. This good, I should call it, not resource. Whereas passengers can go to any city, right? So they have 6 or 5 destination possibilities.
And in this version, the passenger that is on the outside of the ring is a waiting passenger.
Yeah.
The delivered one is on the inside.
Correct. So when you deliver a good to a city, what happens is it produces a passenger. So a new passenger gets produced on the edge, which is called a waiting passenger, meaning that he's wanting to go somewhere else. And he doesn't generate any income unless you deliver somewhere else. And he's willing to go anywhere as long as he's got a connection. And remember, we said passengers first, then goods, and then resources.
If this was connected to this and then connected to that, would it go all the way there?
He would, correct. That's correct, yeah. Because he wants to go to the furthest possible. If there was 2 of them, then 1 would go there and 1 would go there.
Got it.
Yeah. So
what's the point of keeping them in the city after they've finished their journey?
okay, at the end of the turn, all the delivered things get removed. So any goods that were delivered to the city, in this case all these black and greens would come off. All the delivered passengers, not the waiting passengers, just the delivered passengers would come off. So anything that wants to go somewhere stays on. Anything that's been delivered comes off. Okay? And remember that bonus, demand bonus always applies. In the case of passengers, it doesn't care whether they're waiting or not. So like if I had a waiting passenger and I had two over here, one delivered, or let's say they're both delivered, I don't know how you'd have that, but it's possible. Then, if this one got delivered to here, then that would only count, the bonus would count everything. So it would be a -2 bonus because the destination has 1, or the source has 1 and the destination has 3.
That's going to trip me out.
Yeah, the demand bonus. It's really intuitive, actually. You can always see where there's big stacks, you want to send them to where there's small stacks. Yeah. But yeah, like when you're playing, you'll have to walk through it kind of to understand it.
So resources generate when and how much?
Resource generate multiple of 1 if they only get delivered. Oh, so these.
Yeah.
Oh, they start the game with 3 each. You'll notice that there's 3 of each type: 3 oils, 3 fish, and 3 ore, the gray ones. And when one gets depleted, let's say this got depleted because it got distributed to factories, then what happens is if any other ores are existing that aren't connected to anything, like they're unconnected, they get a bonus 1 ore into them. Okay, so they're unmolested, so they're growing. It could be 2. Yeah, double check that. Yeah. Basically, they get you get more.
So anything that didn't get delivered, add 2.
Anything that hasn't been connected.
Anything.
If it's not connected to any line, then it adds one or 2.
These will delete.
Once it's connected, they don't get that boost when something else gets depleted. That boost only happens when it's matching tile or type. Like this pile of ore gets depleted. All the other ores you check to see if they're connected, and if they're not, they get a bonus of how much?
Equal to the turn number.
Oh, it's equal to the turn number. That's correct. Oh, yes. That's interesting, yes. So if it happened in turn 3, they'd get a bonus of 3. So resources start popping up in other places.
So when you're choosing a path between resource and factory and such,
Yeah.
do you have to have it connected something? Is there that concept in here, or can you just choose any location to be making your paths?
When you're building from where you are now, you have to. Your very first build is very flexible. So you start with a factory hub, and you get this kind of free action initially, which is a free line build. You can place this factory hub anywhere that you want. That's your HQ. You have to build from there, and then from there on, you always have to connect to an existing line.
It can't be adjacent to a city, and it can't be adjacent to the same
Resource type, yeah. So you couldn't build this here, and you couldn't build it here. Okay, so
You could put it.
but you could put it in many other places.
Put it adjacent to stone.
Yeah, you could put it there.
Like there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be one of those situations you got to kind of play it, and you'll feel. Oh, here it is. Yes, my example. I think that's kind of operate. Oh, then there's costs of operate.
Cost of the
So
lines.
you might feel it's like, oh, there's a lot of calculations. It's actually very simple. It's all just happening on the board there. When every time you deliver, it moves your income up, and then you check your demand bonus. That moves your income, and then at the end of all your deliveries, you go down based on how many lines you have. These represent trains, basically, how much train activity you have, and the amount you go down on your income is equal to the turn number multiplied by the number of these. So in first turn, in this case, I would go down by 40. My income would go down by 40. So it gets very expensive to maintain a big sprawling empire unless you're being very productive with that empire. If you just have wasted lines, you're gonna lose a lot of money. Now, after you've built your lines, you have the option to destroy or to remove lines, basically. Not remove lines, remove trains. The lines stay on the map, but you can take the trains off. So for example, if I did this and I wanted to simplify my operation, I could take this off. And that would mean that I'd only pay $20 instead of $40 at the end of my turn. So if I think this is an unproductive line or will be too costly, I can take it off. Now the problem with that, I now lose rights to this, and other people can actually take over this line. So it becomes for no cost. So if someone else wanted to build this line, like someone could come in and all they'd have to pay is the rights for this hub, because they wouldn't have to pay for those rights because there are no rights. They wouldn't have to pay for any track fees, and they wouldn't have to pay any extension fees because there's no extension going on. So it'd be a relatively cheap purchase for them. Yeah, and then mostly the rest is very intuitive on how you do lines. Like if you control the line, you can kind of bulldoze it. Like if I had a line like this and I wanted to build through it, you can do it as long as it's your line. So you're welcome to destroy, like you could take this off and build through it, kind of bulldoze your own line. If it's an opponent line, then you can't touch it, but you can use these green things to kind of upgrade it as long as you can keep the line intact, right? So it's very intuitive that way. Okay, so that's kind of operate. Is there any?
Yeah, just if the company has any loans, it would pay minus $10 per $100.
Correct. Yes, there are loans. There are loans. And you'll notice on the far right, yes, that's your max debt level for the company. Okay, so based on the color of where your income is. So we all start with a max debt of 1, meaning that we can take 1 loan. You cannot take more loans than that unless you're essentially forced to. There's very rare cases where you'd be forced to. For example, we'll get to the trading in a minute. Basically, the president might have to, or the company might have to buy back shares. There's a case where it might have to take a loan to buy shares because someone forces it to. And that could put it over the limit, which is fine. If it's over the limit, that's okay, but then it gets checked during the M&A phase, and if it's over the limit, it can go insolvent. It'll accept any M&A bids. If it's insolvent, it has to always say yes to anybody trying to buy it out. And if nobody buys it, then it bankrupts and it comes off.
Is bankruptcy an end game condition?
No, the company just blasts off.
No, you got to play the whole game.
It's like, how do I sabotage my position?
I'm curious. Is the company bankrupt, or does it come out of your personal? Or is this?
Nope, there's no personal. Company's just bankrupt. You don't have to worry about anything personally.
But
Yeah.
if you have personal loans, I think you can opt to leave.
No split, nothing. So the company is its own entity, limited liability company. Yeah.
Then there's the payouts.
Then there's a payout. So after your income, so maybe set your income up to something, then you can decide to pay out or not. It's very simple.
50 is a good number.
50. You either pay out or you withhold. Very simple. If you pay out, it's just whatever the income is, 50 divided by the number of shares.
We just moved this to 50, because that's 150. The green is 100 plus the 50 that it's on. That's 150.
That's how much cash it has on it, yeah, right now.
Yeah, if you withheld, that's what. How
Correct.
Much cash it would
If you withheld, it would go to 150. If you paid out, it would
you look at the number of shares.
look at the number of shares
You divide 50 by 4.
to the
and then
nearest
you round
multiple
to
of
the
5.
nearest 5.
Yeah. So in this case, $10 a share, and 10 would go to the company.
10 would go to the company.
So the 10 would boost the company's cash, and then all the shareholders would get 10 per share. So very realistic.
This is a 2-share?
So currently, they're all 4 shares.
There is
There's no 10. They have 10 shares each, so they're all treasury right now, basically. Like they're ready to be issued if you want to issue them.
you can be the president and not have the most shares. So
Okay.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it is possible. Pretty rare, but possible. Because the main reason that is because you can only ever control 2 companies. You can never be president of more than 2 companies. If you would have been of a third company, it would go to the next highest shareholder, basically.
If you need this, let me know.
Yeah, probably. Okay, yeah, it's probably a lot to digest so far. How you guys doing?
That was the hardest part.
Yeah,
Operation is,
operation is the trickiest part for sure.
the rest is
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see as we
You'll see, as you play it, you'll see it very quickly. Okay, so then the rest of it is partly, I wonder if we should almost just go to round 1, because the other phases happen in round 2. I could brush on them very quickly, but maybe it's better to go through them on the second turn. I don't know what you think. Well, because in the first, you don't do the first phases. You start with operate.
operate and then you go to the next one for after.
Okay, so let's just do that. May as well explain. Okay, so we do the operate. That's actually the first thing we do, just because it's the only thing. It's turns 1 through 5 you do operate, and then it specifies which turns you do these other actions on. So turns 2 is when we start trading. How does trading work? Okay, so trading is every company that you're the president of. So in this case, this company, I get to decide. I set the price of the company essentially. The price at the end of the round gets set basically automatically on how much profit it made. So the calculation is basically the per share profit that it generated. So in this, remember that last company, it did $20 per share, right?
Yeah.
So it would be roughly 20, plus the cash that it has on the company. So it's kind of like the income that it made per share, plus the cash per share. It's a simple calculation, so you don't have to worry about it. So what happens is that gets set automatically. It's like, okay.
What's 120 plus 50 is 170 divided by 4.
Yeah, that's the calculation. So it would be
170 divided by 4 is higher than
is 40, right?
Yeah.
Is that where it would be? Okay. So in this case, yeah, if they had withheld, no, they paid out. If they paid out, it would be 40. Yeah, because it's $110 plus $50 payout. Yeah. But normally they wouldn't have had so much cash because they would have paid it on trains and stuff. But anyway, so now so the target price is $40. That means that I can, as the president, I can either shift it to 30 or based on these red numbers, so -2 plus 2, I can either shift it to 60, keep it at 40, or shift it to 20. I have 3 choices. We all simultaneously reveal either a red, a green, or a yellow, depending on what I want to do to the price, okay, as the president. So 1, 2, 3, reveal. Everybody reveals simultaneously, and that sets all of the company prices based on what the president reveals. So if he wants to keep it the same, he does that. If he wants to boost the price, he does the green. If he wants to reduce the price, so 3 choices. Once the price is set, we now do a trading round, and everybody gets to, again, simultaneously trade. We go through each company in company order. So we would start, let's say we start with the blue company. We now all decide whether or not we want to buy, sell, or pass on those shares. Okay, 1, 2, 3, we all reveal. A green means you want to buy the shares at whatever the president set price is. Red means you want to sell the share. Yellow means you want to pass on the share. You don't want to do anything. Then what happens is once everybody's revealed, there's a series of transactions in order to the left of the president where buyers and sellers are matched up. So let's say you had a buy, you had a sell, and you're always buying just one share. So in this case, you would buy his share, you'd give him whatever the price is, and that's done. And then it would go to me. Let's say I had a sell, and then you had a pass, and he was the president, Mark was the president. Then I am whoever's left that hasn't transacted because they couldn't find a matching transaction, they have to transact with the president. All of them have to transact with the president to the extent that the president can. And that means if I had a sell, that means I'm selling to the president. So I sell him, he has to pay me the share. If he doesn't have the cash to pay me, he's got to take loans to pay me, so he has to satisfy it. It's kind of funny. So he has to satisfy it. And similarly with buying, if I do buying, he has to sell it, even if he's like, oh, damn it, I set the price too low, I shouldn't have done that. It's like, sorry, I'm buying from you. He's the market maker.
People steal your company real easy if they set it too low.
Yeah, it's very easy to lose your company in this game. And maybe you do. Like, don't get too attached.
Okay.
More Imperial than 18XX, if you know Imperial.
Yeah, remember Imperial?
I remember.
Yes. Yeah, things shift quickly. It's like, okay, so that's trading.
So what if there aren't shares to sell?
If there aren't shares, if you don't have a share to sell, then it's just a meaningless, it's a pass. If you said sell and you didn't have any shares,
Well, no. If you're trying to actually buy them from the president,
Yeah.
the president doesn't have any more to sell you because they're all sold.
Nothing happens.
no, then you first try to buy it from the president. I think it buys, if everyone bought, like say the president only had 2 and everybody did a buy, then I believe it buys from the treasury next. It buys from the bank and then from the treasury. Very unusual situation, but possible, yeah. No, it's an edge case. But I think what happens is it buys from the treasury, which means that you would give the money to the company treasury and you'd get the shares from the treasury. Each company starts with 4 floated shares and 6 ready to go in the treasury. Yeah.
What if there's no more than treasury? Is that like an edge?
Then it would be a pass. I love it. This guy's testing. I love it. Like round 5, there's nothing left. I don't think that could even happen. Like even buying from the treasury is rare, let alone if there is no treasury. Yeah, treasury is usually around. Okay, and then let's talk. Okay, so that's the trading phase. Once the trading phase is done, we then go into the treasury phase. Treasury phase is very fast. All it is everybody in PO. PO is player order, so you're the starting player, priority. So every player just gets one attempt to either buy or sell to a company, treasury. And what that basically means is you can either sell your share back to the company at whatever the current price is. So it's like a share buyback, and you get that capital. Or you can buy from the treasury at the current price. And it's only one and only one share.
Yep. So if you sold to the treasury, the number of issued shares would go
And it affects the issued shares, yes. That's right. And you can only sell to the treasury if there's two. So if there's only one share left, you can't sell the last share to the treasury.
Can't dump the company.
Somebody
Yes.
has to run that company.
Yeah, somebody has to own it.
You can sort of dump it, but someone has to
Yeah,
go to pot.
yeah, exactly. Okay, good times. So that's treasury. It goes super fast. Next is M&A. Okay, M&A is too fun. So I don't know if I can teach you M&A because it's too exciting. There are limits to the excitement that a person can accept. So M&A is basically, it's actually a really important part of the game because remember what I said, you can only build one line per turn. If you want to make very profitable or unprofitable companies, you need M&A. And because you can combine companies that are separately building one line each, and now you combine them into one big company that can do all sorts of crazy deliveries and make lots of money. M&A is very realistic, like the goal of the game, right? Everything's super realistic. So what it is again in PO, so starting with Justin, John, sorry, I'm Justin, you are John.
I'll soon forget.
Starting with John, you can propose one and only one target company for M&A. Okay, so you can enlist any company on the board. You can say this company is a target for M&A. And then everybody now votes simultaneously, as we usually do, and you vote in different ways. You look at the company's current price. So in this case, let's say we're bidding for this company, the one that we know about, the blue one. The current price is $40 a share. So if I put a, yeah, this one here?
The colored one.
Oh, yeah. If you're ever wondering what these colors do, this shows you what the action is depending on the round. Right now, we've already talked about trading. We're currently in M&A, and we've done most of the rest. So in M&A, this tells you what it does. So green means set the high price of the offer. So in this case, I would be offering $60 a share if I revealed a green for that company. If John said this is the target, 1, 2, 3, we all reveal, and I revealed a green, that means I'm offering $60 a share.
And that's as the president of a company.
That's as the president of one of my companies. If I have two companies, I have to reveal like this simultaneously for each company. It's the offer that each company is giving separately. So,
It has to be different if you have two.
and if there's two, they have to be different colors. Mainly that's just because I don't have enough colors. Yeah, there was some rule that I was trying to avoid a problem with too.
So it's 60 because it's the 40 plus the 2?
It's 60 because I put a green, which sets the high price, which is plus 2.
It's the 40.
Whatever the color it's in, it tells you what the green does, and it tells you what the red does. The red would have been an offer of 20.
Okay.
Are these numbers inclusive?
Though they are, yes. Yeah, you start from the current number, so this would be, you go this direction or this direction. It's additional to the row.
It's the column.
Sorry, the column.
Moving on the column, not.
So can I make it +1? Or do I
You
have
cannot
to
make a
go
+1, no.
Whatever it
Those
is,
multiples only.
Okay.
You have to, only
That's why I asked
option.
inclusive.
Yeah, the only options you have here are 60, 40. If it was here, your options would be 40, 20, and 10, because it's -1, right? So it shows you what are the options. You only ever have 3 options for price. So those 3 options of price, but I have a 4th option when it comes to M&A, which is mergers. Okay, so that's what the blue represents. The blue is a merger. It's the most simple merger of all time. All that happens is the shares just all combine into one. You have to have combined less than 10 to have a legitimate merger candidate. So if they both have 6 shares issued, they can't have to take loans, and you can only have made your company. So you can't offer more than the max debt would allow you to. So you do have to look at your total liquidity position when you're making an offer and make sure that you have enough to offer. Otherwise, if it turns out you made an illegal offer, it's assumed that it's a pass. Okay, and then how the voting works is kind of cool too. So once everybody reveals their offer, so let's say I had the high offer, you had a low offer, we always start with the target company to see if, with the offers. We start with the offers to see if, let me double check. I got to get the order of this right. Resolve bid. Okay, resolve bids from highest to lowest, then resolve merger proposal. Shareholder related vote ensues if the target ever rejects it. Yes. Okay, shareholder vote, resolve bids from highest to lowest, then resolve merger proposals. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, so if the target ever, okay, I get it now. Okay, so you always start with the bid. So